On September 30th, the inaugural PFL Europe season touches down in Paris, France for the playoffs. Across 4 weight divisions, Europe's elite martial artists will go to war. It's simple: win and progress to the finals in Dublin, lose and go home. In the bantamweight division, the killer Kirshen Kakarov will look to take away Ali Taleb's perfect record, while Francesco Nuzzi will look for a repeat performance and get Franz Malambo out of there early. In the 155-pound division, 2 Irish fighters want to book their place in the finals in Dublin. Dylan, the new Duke, will face his toughest opponent to date in Jakub Kasuba, while Alex Chijov stands in the way of John Mitchell's dream of fighting on home soil. In the women's flyweight division, Dakota Decheva has stormed through the competition so far and will see this fight as a stepping stone to a perfect 10-0 record and becoming PFL flyweight champion. But can she be stopped? Rounding out the PFL Europe playoffs, 4 of the most dangerous light heavyweights in Europe will stake their claim for a place in the Dublin finals. In 2 absolutely 50-50 fights, Simeon Powell faces Abdullah Erami and Anthony Salomon faces Jacob Nadeau. All of these guys got the finish early in the regular season fights, and one shot could be all it takes for any of these guys to progress to the finals. The PFL Europe playoffs are already sold out. If you were lucky enough to get tickets, we'll see you there. If not, it's live on RMC Sport in France and on DAZN worldwide. Hello, one and all, and welcome to your official PFL Europe playoff shows. We're going to tell you everything you need to know ahead of the playoffs, September 30th, live from Paris, supported by Proper 12. Great to be joined by a man that we used to know as Dan the Outlaw Hardy. Now, I think more of an appropriate term, Dan, is Dan Two Hats Hardy, because that's what you're wearing here in PFL Europe. You're not only, that's it. I kind of want on the night you to have visually 2 hats so we can see what role you're performing when, because of course you're going to be cage side, calling the fight, color and analysis and so forth. But ahead of that, through fight weekend, even on that night, you're the head of fighter operations for PFL Europe. How much of a challenge is that dual role for you?
Well, it's something I'm still kind of growing into. I've got a lot of people around me that are really, supportive and helping me out. The likes of Eduardo and James and Julia. I've got a good team around me. So for me, it's just kind of learning the role at the moment and getting ready for 2024 when, I'm building out the divisions and matching the fights. I'm doing some matchmaking now, and, the undercard fights, I'm sourcing those fighters and matching them, and I'm getting ready for the 2024 regular season to start, because I've got a stack of good fighters ready to step in. But, we've got some fighters in this division this year that are going to be stepping over as well. And, a part of the job is, watching those fighters and seeing how they develop and seeing how they overcome struggles in first round and regroup, and, how they handle themselves fight week and, their media responsibilities and stuff. So there's quite a few things, but I think, to be honest, when you're there fight week, you're in amongst it. You can't, you're so invested in everything that it doesn't really matter what the job title is. I'm just there to do what needs to be done to make sure the show's as good as it can be.
And look, we're moving on to our third show now for PFL Europe. The first 2 in Newcastle, Berlin were an astounding success. Dan, Paris is shaping up to be massive. It's sold out. It's sold out weeks in advance. And everyone I know who's out there is talking about this show and super excited. What can we expect from that show as a whole?
Well, I mean, it's well matched from top to bottom. We've got superstars that are making their debut on the undercard that no one's ever heard of yet, or that very few people have heard of. Let me put it that way. I mean, we've got Chanel Dyer making her PFL debut, and then all the way up at the top, we've got Cedric Doumbe in the main event. We've got Lazy King on the card.
Everybody knows that I'm the best kickboxer on the planet right now. Magomed, I smash your brother. Jaral, Salawi, Salami, everybody, I smash everybody, brother. I already know, but I will prove that I'm the best MMA fighter in the world. I want to make history. That's why I'm here. I talk. But what I like to do also is to back it up, and I will back it up. My head movement is very slick. You know what I'm saying? Both of my hands are very strong. They are dangerous. Of course, in stand-up fight, nobody can face me. Even if we go on the floor, I can handle it. I'm very good at knock people out, you know. I'm coming for the welterweight division in PFL.
Who the fuck is that guy?
Cedric, Doumbe is coming for all your asses. It's very entertaining when you watch me fight. That's why people love me, but you can't miss it. What's up, fight fans? This is Cedric, the best Doumbe. Don't ever miss my first PFL debut. See you there. Bye.
Like, we've got really strong contenders in all of the divisions. And the fights are a coin toss, honestly. I mean, they could go either way, especially, you know, there are some divisions over others that I think to myself, like, literally any four of these fighters could be the champion. There are sometimes you look at a division, you're like, well, I understand why they would be the favorite, but MMA is full of upsets. But particularly the bantamweight division is so evenly matched and competitive. And because I know these fighters so well, because I've helped them become a part of the PFL, and I've been following them through their training camps, and then I watch them during fight week. I have an eye on every single one of the fighters. There's not one person I'm overlooking, because I recognize all their individual journeys, even if I am a little critical.
It is the talk of town, it's the talk of Europe, it's going to be the talk of the world.
This hype train stops for nobody.
He's got it on digital! Oh, there it is again!
Cornelia Holm was feeling confident, and then bam! Cornelia Holm! Wow!
Let's now talk about some of these matchups. There's so many. I'm almost salivating at some of the matchups we've got September 30th in Paris. Let's look at the women's flyweights first of all. One of the stars, let's be honest, of PFL Europe, Dakota Tacheva against Cornelia Holm. Now Dakota, let's be upfront. She's been one of the athletes who's been put up there in front of the media. If you're gonna have to pick a flag bearer for the women in PFL Europe, it very much seems that it is Dakota. With that in mind, does that put something of a target on her back?
Yeah, it absolutely does. And I think, I think obviously, she showed something in Newcastle, taking the fight to the floor and winning the way she did. But I do think that that someone like Cornelia Holm is going to come in with a point to prove, and that's going to be motivating for her. Like, Holm's been around for a long time. She was an amateur veteran. She's got a lot of experience, and she can see, that Dakota's the one that's being celebrated, you could say, by the fans. They're expecting her to do well because she is doing well. She's undefeated still. She's young in her career. She trains at American Top Team. Like, everything's going well for her. And then you look at Holm, and she's picked up a few losses, and she didn't have the easiest of fights in Newcastle, and she's coming in here biting down on her mouth guard with a point to prove. But she's got more experience, amateur and professional, and I think that's going to play into this fight as well.
This will be the matchup in Paris. Jakob Kasuba, Dylan Toon with a trip to the PFL Europe final on the line. Jakob Kasuba stays undefeated.
Can you understand me? Yeah, you understand me. You understand that here?
Sean Mitchell. John Mitchell comes into this incredibly confident.
Mitchell knows he's got this fight in the pocket. Alex Chisov also has a lethal left hand.
Oh,
There's the left.
Doumbe is on skates. Chisov is unloading.
And now we move on to the lightweight division. And look, we all know it's Dublin in December when we're going to crown our inaugural PFL Europe champions. And look, Dan, in the lightweight division, there's a chance of two Irish lads going at it. Will we have an all-Irish final? We're going to find out. The first matchup, let's talk about Alex Chizov versus John Mitchell. Of course, John would love to win and advance to his opportunity to become a champion on home soil. And look, Dan, you talk to these fighters on a regular basis. When this European season was announced with the final in Dublin, we knew this earlier this year. What was the reaction from the Irish contingent?
Well, I mean, straight away, because of the location of the finals, they've not only got the motivation to get there to pick up the money and the belt, but they want that moment for their career. They want that walkout on home soil with the support. Fighters dream of that stuff. Some fighters can say it don't bother me, I'll fight wherever and stuff. But when you walk out into an arena with people all around you cheering, you're excited to watch you perform. You feel wonderful. It's a very recharging feeling, and I know that most fighters would recognize that opportunity and go, that would be an amazing moment in my career. And for the Irish fighters, knowing how the Irish fans are and what we've seen of them at recent events and previous events, it's hard to imagine what the atmosphere would be like for them. And both of these lightweights are real superstars in different ways. I think John Mitchell had quite a tough fight in Berlin, and I think he had a smart game plan, and he stuck to it, and he made sure that he got through to the next round. But I expect him to step his game up in this next one. I expect him to want to finish in this next one, and I feel the same against Chizov. He's going to be disappointed with Berlin and with the fact that he was held down and controlled for big parts of the fight. He's going to want to come in and prove a point as well. I think both of the Irish fighters have got a lot to deal with in front of them before they can even consider Dublin. As exciting as that might be, it's they've both got really, really tough fights. Fascinating fights, really.
Yeah, of course, look, Dylan the Nuke Chuk going to take up Jakub Kasuba in that second semi-final. And we saw in Berlin, when that fight was made, Dylan and Jakub came face-to-face. And, I mean, even then, you got a real sense of Dylan's personality, just the trash talk, the attitude going into it. What can we expect in the build-up to this fight?
His approach to Kasuba is going to be interesting because you can't deny how dangerous he is. He is a big, strong, powerful lightweight. Dylan too knows that most likely he's going to move down to 145 at some point in the future. So he's already in the back of his mind accepted the fact that this guy is most likely going to be stronger. So how does he approach the fight is the question.
He is a big man with a lot of power. Ladero's hurt here. Ladero's hurt here. Knocked out. This might be the end of the fight.
Anthony Salamone back on the win column. Swinging away early. Oh, beautiful jab.
That's a finish.
Well, you can do that with a jab. With a jab. Wow.
These two guys, they are supremely confident that they can get the job done.
I just don't know how you get away from a guy like this.
What a finish from Simeon Powell.
Arami knows he's got power in both hands.
Incredible punch from Abdullah Arami.
Keep hitting that guy over and over again, and he keeps coming forward.
People can't keep up with him. He's got grappling as well as striking.
To do it on this stage, that's pressure.
Yeah.
This is going to be fireworks at the first second.
And then we move on to the big guys, down the light heavyweights. Look, we've got two real sensational matchups, 50-50, I think you could say, for both of them. Let's talk about one of these in particular, first of all. Salamon versus Nado, two big boys, and this could go either way.
Yeah. I mean, you've got size against speed in this one. This is why I like this matchup because, Nado was very impressive in Newcastle. Just big, powerful, fast, dominant. I expect him to be a real handful no matter who he's fighting. And then on the other side, you've got Anthony Salamone, who's probably slightly undersized for the light heavyweight division, you could say, but he's a decent bit quicker and he's got just as heavy hands. And, and I feel like with his grappling wrestling base as well, he's going to feel confident that he's going to be able to at least keep this fight where he wants it. And what I like about this as well is that you've got Salamone, who's on home soil, and he's the one welcoming the giant in. So, if he beats Nedo on home soil, he's going to look like a world beater. and then he moves on to the championship. But it's a very, very competitive fight, and honestly, either of those guys could be the champion at the end of the year.
Well, Dan, I'm very pleased to say we are joined by a man who's going to be watching that contest very closely. He's one half of our other semi-final. He's taken on Abdallah El Rami. It's only big old Simeon, pal Simeon. Thank you for joining us, mate. I know you're deep in preparations for Paris. First and foremost, how's camp going?
Yeah, camp's great. I'm ahead of schedule. Weight's great, and yeah, I'm feeling sharp.
And look, after that first performance we saw from you in Newcastle, it was a dominant performance. I think you opened a lot of people's eyes who perhaps hadn't seen you perform before. Did that fill you with confidence moving forward?
Yeah, most definitely. But this time I'm trying to top it. I'm trying to go even. Do you know what I mean? I'm going for perfection this way.
Is El Rami the best person for you to be perfect against? Can you see how you finish this fight?
Yeah, no, I think his style for me is perfect. That guy that he's gonna come and he's gonna bring the fight, and he's gonna allow me to display the things that I've been working on, and maybe you might see a knockout this fight. You might see a submission. I don't know.
Don't get as excited, Simeon. Don't get as excited. Look, Simeon, it's no secret you've been one of the, let's say, flag bearers of this brand. PFL very happy to put you in front of the press and to put your face out there against PFL Europe. Does that add some pressure knowing that PFL are sort of investing in you so much?
No, I see it as training. I see it as it's all as a stepping stone for me because like I'm having this pressure and having all of these things to think about early on in my career, and I'm getting used to the limelight and all of that stuff. So yeah, I'm taking it as training. I'm not looking at it as a burden. Almost, you know what I mean?
Look, Simeon, thank you for taking the time to speak to us. We're excited to see you in Paris. We're hearing more about your visualizations, no doubt, during fight week, and no doubt a spectacular performance coming from you once again.
Appreciate it, guys. Thank you.
Good talking to you, man. See you soon.
Dan, have you got your phone to hand?
Yeah.
I've just sent you something. Check this out. PFL Europe have just tweeted a poll about who they think is going to be in that light heavyweight final in Dublin, competing for it's $100,000, mate. It's $100,000 they're fighting for. This is still open for a few more days, but I think we can see it on screen now. Actually, the guys will bring it up. What do you make of these results so far?
I'm actually surprised. I'm surprised. Like, it doesn't surprise me that people are voting for Powell and Salomon. I just thought that Powell Nedo would be a higher pick on that one as well. I'm interested to see how these level out. I'll retweet this when we're done recording and see where the results are at, because I think we're going to see these numbers change quite a bit over the coming week while this poll's still going.
Yeah, I think these kind of polls are great. I think especially leading into fight week, as you're seeing everyone doing the press, doing that kind of stuff, you're getting a little reads on people. I'd like to see more of these, but yeah, make sure you check out this poll, follow it. Let us know what you think.
To me, looks like he's always standing primed to fire a fast punch.
Domination from Kakarov.
I hope you're ready for Paris. I hope.
Francesco Nuzzi, Franz Malambo, we will see you in Paris September 30th.
The calmness and composure of Franz Malambo, and then wham, it will hit him with something that they didn't expect.
Are you kidding me? Behind the left hand sends Farbon to the land of the ancestors.
Wow.
But look, talking about entertainment, we've got one more division to talk about, and it's definitely going to be an entertaining one.
This is the most competitive one, in my opinion. The bantamweights, it's like every single one of these fighters not only can win the European Championship, but I would match them up against the majority of top 10 bantamweights in the world right now. Like, you look at what Ali Taleb is capable of, like power, speed, technique. You know, he's up against Kakarov, who's a very, very technical striker in his own right. And then, of course, Malambo, he's a veteran. He's got loads of experience taking on Nutsi, who's coming off probably the best performance of his career. Like, what a competitive division that is.
But someone we get the chance to talk to now is the other half of that semi-final. We've got Franz Malambo on the line. Franz, thank you for joining us, mate. First and foremost, are you in the tropics? Where are you? This doesn't look like Dublin to me.
Italy, my man. I'm in Italy. I'm getting acquainted with Francisco Nutti's, surroundings. So, yeah. I'm stalking him, man. I can see his house from here. I'm just my binoculars are just on the side here, watching every move he's made.
Franz, this is top level preparation. Doing a field trip.
You better believe it. I told you this from the last time, guys. I'm not here trying to play games. I'm serious.
It looks like he might be playing some games out there with his head. That's for sure. But hey, look. First things first. How is camp going in preparation for Paris?
It's going really good. I'm obviously just over in. I just ran over to Italy for a friend's getting married. So it's a little break in between camp, but it's going fantastic. Like so far, you know what I mean. We're ready to go. Like I only fought not too long ago. The ball has been rolling since. So yeah, man, let's do this. Is what I'm saying.
Well, and Andy and I were just discussing that because we were looking at your record, and you had like 5 fights in a year, 6 fights in a year, and then then it went to like 2 fights and 2 fights, and you kind of lost a bit of momentum, and then you've had a couple of years out, almost 2 years between your last fight and making your PFL debut. Do you feel like you can now get some momentum back under your wings and put some fights on your record?
Exactly, and I feel like I can do that in the best way I ever done in my career. You know what I mean? Because I had never had this kind of consistency, which is exactly what I've been asking for literally since before my professional career. Like I was always like, I need to be consistent because I know that's how I perform. Like I perform best. You know what I'm saying? And there's no reason why you couldn't be. Just, you know what I mean? Just there's so many other people out there. There's so many bantamweights out there. Just throw me a few of them to slaughter and send me home.
And Franz, I remember when you made your pro debut. It was back on Bama in 2015. I was there. I remember the hype around you just coming off that IMAF win. And I think a lot of us thought that you were going to go on an absolute tear. But in that early part of your career, it was kind of stop and start, some wins, some losses. What's changed in the past couple of years? And you've had a real good win streak now, and you're coming back, and you've got the opportunity now to become the inaugural PFL Europe bantamweight champion in your hometown of Dublin.
Yeah. So the difference now is, like, now I'm more of an MMA fighter. Before I was literally just a striker and a defensive wrestler. You know what I mean? That sustained me all the way through my amateur career, and I was like, I can do this. You know what I mean? I don't need all of that extra stuff. I can just knock you out. You know what I'm saying? So it came to a point where I was like, oh, right. I need that other stuff. You know what I mean? And so that's when you can see. Oh, you can see it on my record, where like I was 13-2 as an amateur. Most of them were knockouts, and then as soon as I went pro, things just started going shaky, and that's literally the reason. But I've learned to deal with that now. You know what I mean? I'm more of an MMA fighter, and all of a sudden in my pro career, I have an even number of knockouts as I do submissions, which I couldn't have predicted, like, you know.
So what was the feeling after your last fight? Because it was a good battle, and you'd been out for a little while. You seemed a little disappointed afterwards, a little bit like you could have performed better. But what was your immediate read on your performance?
In my head, I wanted to throw a certain shot and stuff, and it just would not come out as, you know what I mean, as I know it can. Like I throw a straight right hand, and I'd be just wobbling, and I felt like I looked stupid. You know what I'm saying? In the fight. But then when I watched it back, it didn't look as bad as I felt in the fight. You know what I'm saying? And so I was talking to John, and he reckons there's a bit of like mental things that I have to sort out with that. But, I just put it all down to ring rust. I haven't been in there in so long. And I just had to, reacquaint myself with the whole thing. And I'm going to get a chance to do that very soon now in Paris.
What's your read on Nutsi? You must have had a look at some of his fights and got into his back catalogue. What are your thoughts on him at the moment?
You're totally wrong there, my man.
Really?
All I know about him is watching the fight. Like, at the PFL, which was awesome. Like, he was good. You know what I mean? Had a nice knockout and stuff like that. I seen him fight like that night, and I was impressed, and impressed in a way that I want to fight him, and I think I can beat him.
All right, Franz, we're going to let you go because we know you got to get a wedding to get into. Don't enjoy it too much, though, my friend. We're going to see you, though, September 30th, the PFL Europe playoffs in Paris.
Sure.
Looking forward to it, mate.
Guys, I wish this interview was longer, but got things to do. Nice one. See y'all guys later.
There'll be more.
You better
Safe
believe
travel.
it. Yes, sir. Peace.
So, Dan, look, we've heard from the fighters. We've heard your thoughts. We've got inside your head, which I think was a good thing. Look, between now and Paris, what's on your plate?
You know, just making sure that all the fighters are ready to arrive in Paris, kitted out for fight week and fit and healthy. Make sure all their medicals are turned into the French Commission, and make sure that the cage is going to be set up and ready to go. It's, you know, everything is running very smoothly. We've learned very quickly from previous events, and we're leveling up each time. So I'm just excited to get out to Paris now and get all these fighters in the same building so we can start getting them weighed in to fight.
We heard from Franz, we heard from Simeon. How nice is it for you to sort of connect with these fighters this close to the fight and see how they're getting on?
It's always interesting to see where they're at, you know, and you can read a lot from a fighter in spite of what they're saying as well. And, you know, talking to these fighters, you can just tell that they're glowing and that they're happy with the work they've put in. And you know, if their opponents are not mirroring that same kind of confidence, then we're going to see it on fight night. And that's what this is all about. It's about sorting the best out of the best that we've got so far in the playoffs and seeing who we're going to get in the championship. And high spirits is very encouraging always, I think.
And look, final question. If someone's not checked out PFL or PFL Europe yet, why should they be tuning in to our Paris card September 30th?
Oh man, it's a lot of reasons. I mean, not only on the undercard and in the main and co-main event are we identifying some of the best talent that we've got in Europe right now, but we're also, you know, discovering talent with these playoff fights. Like, we're going to be crowning 4 champions in Dublin in December, and this is the path to that championship. We've got fighters stepping into these fights. They're not only fighting for this victory right now, but they're fighting for a big chunk of money that's going to change their life and a European championship, which is going to open so many doors for them. It's just an exciting time to be a part of martial arts, and PFL is you know, at the forefront of this in Paris, putting on a big show. And we know that the French fans are gonna be there in force, making loads of noise and celebrating their fighters. So I just expect it to be very much like a festival atmosphere with a lot of really good fights going on.
Yeah, as I mentioned earlier, it is sold out already. But do come and join us. If you're lucky enough to have a ticket, me and Dan and the rest of the team will see you there. If you haven't, please join us. Watch live September 30th for what will be a life-changing night.